The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining Wilfred Watches Podcast, an innovative and in-depth discussion about pro wrestling, covering all corners of the world, pro sports wrestling. We are joined by quite a few people here in the pod today, discussing Wrestle Kingdom 13. We have some people on the panel today wanting to, we're gonna, one second. Yeah, just got my fresh hot tea delivered to me by my lovely wife. We are gonna discuss Wrestle Kingdom 13 today. We have some friends on the panel, but before we get to who we have and run down, I want to say a very, very special thanks to a couple of people before we get going. And that's to those patrons, those who are supporting me on my Patreon page, patreon.com/WilfredWatches. These folks are helping the show financially, and they are going to get some super cool benefits and even be part of the show. So thanks, guys. Very special thanks to Archie, Courtney, who we have today, Luke, Anthony, John, who's also in the building, and Rick. Rick's been there since the beginning. Thanks, bud, for jumping on. We have lots of really cool things coming up in 2019. Just stay tuned. You're going to enjoy it. Lots of cool things. Lots more coverage on Noah. Lots more coverage on Ring of Honor, Stardom. Lots more to cover in 2019. Plenty of interviews coming up. This show's only 5.5 months old, but we have gotten very far, so thank you to anybody who may have listened even once or twice or subscribing. Thank you, guys. So let's get into today's show, which is the most beautiful time of the year. And it's not Christmas we're talking about. It's not Hanukkah. It's not Kwanzaa. It's not New Year's Day. It's Wrestle Kingdom season. And it's just around the corner. And I want to introduce some friends today. We're going to go over the card and pick some winners. First off, I want to say hi to Courtney. Thank you so much for joining me today, Courtney. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And I am so excited about Wrestle Kingdom. I have a countdown to the exact minute that Wrestle Kingdom starts. And it's Wrestling Christmas.
Yes.
And right now we have 5 days, 12 hours, 14 minutes, and 10 seconds to go.
Absolutely. And we are also joined today by my friend Dan, #admin Dan, from @TNTF Podcast. That's not the finished podcast. Dan, how's it going, buddy?
Going pretty good, and I must say that it's really awesome to finally actually get to talk to you in person.
Yeah,
well, not in person, it's over Skype, but it's live.
You've been stalking me in the DMs, and we have finally acquainted in real life. So thank you for spending some of the time of your afternoon today. And we have a very special third member of the group. Is really the third member of NWO today. He's not Shane McMahon. But I have a sneaky feeling he may have an association with the McMahon family. And that's JPQ, John from Twitter. How are you, my dear friend?
Hey now. What's going on? I am the third man.
You are the man in my eyes. That's high praise.
High praise.
Thank you guys for joining. What we're going to do is we're going to do it this way, guys. we're going to run through the card. We're going to give our opinions on the matches, and we've had some super interesting results on some of the polls that I've been putting out on the NJPW US account. It is so close between the main events, Naito, Jericho. It's so close. So we're going to make our decisions today, and I want to see what you guys think. So we'll get into it here. We're going to start with the pre-show Never Openweight 6-man Tag Team Championship match. In this match, it will be on the pre-show, so be sure to tune in. I think it's around 1 or 2 a.m. Central Standard Time, so check that out now before you get too late. I put a tweet out earlier this week. Ask friends if you're not sure. We'll all be there that early morning with coffee and tea and whatever you need to wake up, guys. So this match, Taguchi, Yano, Makabe, and this is you're getting all the people on the card. They're fighting David Finlay, Jeff Cobb, and a late entry due to Elgin's injury, Yuji Nagata. You've got the Suzuki-gun tag team of Davey Boy Smith Jr., Lance Archer, Minoru Suzuki, and then you've got best friends Chucky T and Beretta tagging with Hiroki Goto. And then the final team is Marty Whoop Whoop Skrull, Yujiro, and Hangman Page. I want to know, we'll start with you, Dan. Dan, who do you have winning and why? I can't wait to hear this.
So I was pretty I was like kind of jumping back and forth here, but I finally have to say I think because of Jeff Cobb entering this match and also with the late entry here of Yuji, I think that's just like really playing up for them to actually win the gauntlet. Now, I think that because of the way that Cobb's been performing and his popularity just increasing, I think that that's going to lead his team to victory in a sense. I think going up against Taguchi and Yano and also Makabe in the beginning, I mean, they're going to pull out the victory in the first round, and then possibly also against Chucky T and Beretta, and then just kind of go on to a series of other really good matches, really close matches, and then eventually just pull out the victory.
Okay. Let's see. Courtney, what do you think is going to happen in this pre-show gauntlet match for the 6-man number 1 contendership? Who do you got?
If you follow me on Twitter, you would know this by now. I'm going with Killer Elite Squad and Minoru Suzuki because after his Wrestle Kingdom moment that he had last year, even though this is on the pre-show and it's not on the main card, still he deserves something to, say thanks and give back to him after he celebrated 30 years, wrestled Okada in the rain.
Yeah.
He has just had an amazing year at 30 years in the business. So, why not kick it back and give him his moment,
That's a really good point, actually. I do like how you brought up how he has had such an illustrious career. And that's a good point. I do like that. Now, if you know JPQ from Twitter, you know that he is Mr. Social Media, is what I'm going to call him. So his opinion's way heavy. I cannot wait to see. What do you think's going to happen? Because remember, this was typically a Rumble match, and now we've got a gauntlet 6-man tag team. So this is a different switch if you've been watching New Japan for a couple of years. John, what do you have happening in this crazy gauntlet match?
Well, number one, I think we're going to see a better trios match, gauntlet match than should be expected, right? A lot of talent out there right now. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with what Courtney's going with, and you got to give Suzuki something because you didn't put him on the main card. And I think it's this W.
I know I did go out of order here. I let me just say real quick. I agree with you guys. I like the idea. I really do like the idea of Suzuki and holding it, but I personally don't think that KES are going to be sticking around for the next couple of months. They typically do tours. They don't really reside in Japan. So I wonder about them winning. But what I will say is that I actually went with the curveball. I went with Taguchi, Yano, and Makabe winning this. And strictly because we've seen some of these combatants actually hold the six-man titles before. And I think that this is a perfect little setup for a New Year's Dash match where we have Taguchi, Yano, Makabe versus the current six-man tag champions. So I'm going to go with Taguchi, Yano, and Makabe. Really as a filler, this is a pre-show match. Honestly, when we think about the six-man tag teams, and I think I've spoken to John about this before, half the time we don't even remember who the champions are. So, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to get us all warmed up at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning. So that's what I'm going to go with. Now, I want to jump into the first match on the main card. Now, this is typically over the past few years been the Young Bucks spot. The IWGP Junior Tag Championship match was typically the first match on the card to get everybody warmed up, the lightweight, lots of flipping, lots of flying, lots of really good stuff. But this year it's a little different. We're finally seeing the never openweight title being taken into its original concept of being an open weight. There is no junior, there's no heavyweight. Everybody can be part of this division. And we're seeing that with the current champion, Kota Ibushi, taking on Will Ospreay. 60-minute time limit match. I know you guys are drooling over this like most of the world is. This is a dream match on the biggest stage of them all. I'm so jacked for this. Dan, now that you've been watching New Japan just a little bit more frequently, you kind of have got to see the setup of this title being transitioned a little bit to be more of a transitional belt. So let's see. Who do you have when it comes down to it? Less than a week away. Will Ospreay versus Kota Ibushi. Dan.
So if you've seen on the That's Not the Finish Twitter, I've been like crazy about Ospreay ever since seeing like his performance in New Japan. Ibushi is like almost like the mirror image of Will Ospreay, and if you heard on the commentary just over the road to Tokyo Dome, they actually said that Will Ospreay is like a Japanese Ibushi. But I think since Will Ospreay coming to New Japan, I think that they really want to place a title around his waist. Because this kid is just like going places. This kid's like really absolutely amazing. So of course, I think it's going to be Will Ospreay that's going to take home the W in this case.
Interesting. Okay, Courtney, I think I know where you're going to go with this, but I can't wait to hear what you say. Do you have Ibushi retaining, or do you have Ospreay getting that never openweight title? What do you got?
To steal a line from the villain Marty Skrull, death, taxes, and Ibushi beats Ospreay.
Oh, okay. So you see Ibushi retaining. Okay.
Yes, because I think that belt has been hot potatoed so freaking much the past few months that we need somebody to actually keep it and go on a nice run with it to kind of elevate that belt, because, at this point, like I said, it's been handed off from this person to this person to this person, like the kid that nobody wants as the problem child. And, at this point, we need somebody to solidify it, and who better than Kota Ibushi, who you're always going to get a stellar match out of. You're always going to get passion and drive in that ring. Why not keep it with him for now, especially considering Ospreay is just coming off of an injury,
Yeah, that's a really good point, because, and just to add to that real quick, it seemed like before Ospreay got the injury that he was going to be the guy who'd get the belt. And after the injury happened, it seemed like they had to hot potato to somebody. and kind of make the title eventually get to at least one of the people that they wanted in that Wrestle Kingdom match. So you make some good points with the injury. We wonder if he obviously seemed fine on that Road to Tokyo Dome match versus Golden Lovers. That was tremendous match. So let me think. Let me think. I am gonna go with Ospreay in this particular match. I have chosen Will Ospreay to get the belt. I think that was always the plan. I think they're gonna get back on track, and I really honestly believe that Shingo is gonna be the next combatant for that title. That's where I think this is going. We're going to get some new, fresh matches for the Never title. Ospreay is my pick. John, tell us how this is going to play out, please.
Well, first and foremost, I would just want to say that I hate the fact that this is the first match.
Really?
Yeah, this should be farther down on the card. This match has the potential of stealing the show, and where it quite possibly could, with where it's positioned, that recency kind of mentality might play a factor to where people will not give this. There's a potential that people will not give this match the credit that it deserves with what happens at the back end of the card 6 months from now, right? So I'm not in love with the positioning. With that said, because you have the tenacity and the strength of Ibushi and the creativity and the resiliency of Will Ospreay, I think we're in for a classic. And in this instance, to kind of throw us off the trail of what may or may not happen later in the card, I think we see Kota retain.
Where would you put this match if you were booking?
Well, looking at the card, I think that I would go U.S. Heavyweight Championship first, and I'd plug this one in match number 5.
You're not worried about this particular belt or this match being overshadowed, getting lost in the shuffle. You think that it would be better like the 5th match in, really?
I think it would be better the 5th match in. Think back to last year when we had Ospreay versus Kushida versus Hiramu, right? Now that was the second card on the match. We don't remember how good of a match that was because of everything that came after it. Now we obviously know that it was a good match, right? But to me, that was top 2 of last year's Wrestle Kingdom, and nobody really talked about it after the fact because of its positioning on the card. And I think that with now granted, it's the openweight title, so, and it's a hot match, and it's going to set a good pace for the rest of the card. And I understand it's no different than when WWE does an IC title match at the beginning when you have Rollins involved. But for how early it is on the Western side, I think that this might fall. I think it's a good position for the openweight title. It's not a good position for the talent involved.
Okay, I like that. I don't disagree with you. I just wanted to kind of catch your reasosoning. So I don't totally disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, I can dig it. Anybody else have an opinion on this being an opening match and if it shouldn't be?
If I could just chime in, I also have to agree that I think that this would be a much better match to place a little bit more. Not like it has to be the co-main event, but at least make it. Maybe even like change up the match with Okada and Jay White. Maybe have them be the opening match. Even
that would be really interesting.
Because I feel like that's not even like really like a title match in a sense. It's just like a grudge match. So I feel like have that open up, have the title match further down the line in a sense.
Okay. Courtney, what did you have to say about that?
I actually like the placement a little bit.
I do too.
Because if your coffee hasn't woken you up at that point in the middle of the night, that match will. That match is going to be a shot of like triple strength espresso to your veins as a wrestling fan. You're getting ready to see some crazy cuckoo banana stuff.
Crazy cuckoo bananas. I love it, Courtney. Hashtag, I think you're trending worldwide, Courtney. I don't know how you feel about that.
Hey, I'll take it. I mean, apparently some of my tweets have made me an award nominee or something.
Hey, real quick, I just want to stop everything real quick before we get into the next match. Courtney, I want to give you the platform because you got a special message from your bae lately. Can you tell us about that? Just real quick.
Who are we referring to here?
You have so many baes. Courtney, if you've seen her online, Killer Courtney, she got a very cool message from somebody. I think Killer Cross. Somebody. I don't know.
Yes, I did. It was my husband's Christmas present to me.
Wow, guys.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And I'm still sitting here like the kid in the back seat after the dentist appointment. Like, is this real life right now?
That was really, really cool, guys. If you haven't seen Courtney's tweet about that, Killer Cross actually said a little "Hey, what's up?" kind of deal to Courtney, which was a fantastic little moment because we're all wrestling fans, guys, and I still mark out when a wrestler or some personality actually messages me back in the DMs or tweets me back. I totally mark out. So very cool moment, very cool Christmas gift. I'm really glad that happened for you. But let's get on to the Junior Tag Championships. Now, this has been an interesting one because we had the Super Junior Tag, tournaments. We had the winners be Show and Yo. The champions, who I think one of the most underrated tag teams in all of pro wrestling right now is Kanemaru and El Desperado, the champions. And they're contending against the Super Junior Tag League winners, Show and Yo, and Bushi and Shingo, which in a poll that I ran on Twitter, Bushi and Shingo were definitely the winners on the fan vote. Dan, what do you think's going to happen? Are we going to see Suzuki-gun retain the titles, or do we have new champions?
So I don't think that Suzuki-gun's going to retain here, but I actually would go with you, or with the popular vote here with Bushi and Shingo winning, but I think it's going to be the Super Junior Tag League champions, the Show and Yo. I think that Roppongi 3K is just just like how they work together, how they like their gimmick, just like how they mix well together, and just plus I think that just like with their speed, their energy, I mean that they're going to be on the way to winning the tag championships.
Really? Okay. Now, Courtney, I think I know where you're going to go with this. I think you have an LIJ is what you said. Who do you have winning the junior tag titles?
As much as I love Suzuki-gun, they've had those belts for far too long, and Show and Yo are making it apparent that they want to be considered as heavyweights, not so much juniors anymore. And I have a sneaking suspicion that if Hiromu Takahashi were to make an appearance, it would be after this match, because he's been posting that, he's 700% something healed.
Yeah.
And then we have Tanahashi actually had an IG video the other day. It looked like it was Hiromu in the ring running the ropes. So we've had Shingo have to come in and kind of not replace Hiromu, but be there as somebody to, keep Bushi company, to really galvanize LIJ, because they needed it after the year that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in order to kind of give them a little feel-good moment that stable so desperately needs, give those belts to Bushi and Shingo. Even though me and Bushi got nail heat because he's always posting his killer freaking manicure, me and Bushi got Rocky and Bushi heat. But I'm still going to give him this win.
Okay. I am gonna go, and I know this goes against what we're talking about, but I'm gonna go with Sho and Yo winning this. I started to think at first when I thought about this about a month and a half ago or so, I thought, I think that either Sho and Yo or Rocky are going to be the mole, which I still kind of think Rocky may be, but I'm still, I'm still on the fence on it a little bit, but I'm kind of growing away from it. I see new merch coming out. I think that Roppongi 3K will win the tag titles. Sho and Yo will win the tag titles. And I don't know where we go from here, because like I said a minute ago, I really do think Shingo is going to transition into the Never discussion, maybe with Toa Henare eventually also in that discussion. But I have Sho and Yo winning, and somebody said yes when I said that. Was that you, John?
That was me, actually, and
Okay.
I actually wanted to add something really quick.
Yes.
So in addition to the whole thing with Roppongi 3K coming out with new merch, I think you said, right?
Yeah, I've seen some new shirts and stuff.
They actually paid a visit to the New Japan store in Tokyo. I actually think I tweeted that out to you and Amy, and I tagged you guys. I was like, guys, look, I was actually just there, and Sho and Yo were there right now. So they actually were doing like a little promo thing. Doesn't mean that they're going to win it, but it seems like they're trying to definitely hype them up more. And I think by having them do that event at the New Japan store in Tokyo, I think that could be a hint at things.
And before we get to you, John, for your choice, which I know you're going to have plenty to say about Yo, but before we get there, since you brought it up, Dan was very nice enough to actually head over to the store that the Tokyo New Japan store, and he picked up a couple of items, and we put together, the two of us, a pick'em contest, just like what we're doing right now. We made a Google form, you enter it, you put your name, you do a tiebreaker for the time, and the winner is going to get a New Japan Pro Wrestling Lion Mark towel and a Kenny Omega keychain that was directly brought from the Tokyo Superstore from Dan. So we have information on both of our Twitters, at Wilfred Watches and at TNTF Podcast, for the competition. So please jump in on that. I will shut the form down, the day before the action, or the night before the action. So get your entries in so we can get you some merch sent your way. Now, John, here is your Yo platform. Go for it.
Well, I'm excited that we're talking about this. So, first and foremost, I want to say that Kanemaru and Desperado did a tremendous job with the titles up to this point, right? I think that they get a bit overshadowed. So they really do deserve some praise for the work they've done, because they're very good workers, especially for a guy that drinks before every match. With that said, the beauty mark of this match is going to be Sho, right? And I say beauty mark because Sho is going to come out at some point, whether during the match or after the match, as the Mole. And as the Mole, what we're going to see is a brand new rebranding of Roppongi 3K to where they join the Bullet Club. And my hope is that Romero is there along for the ride. So moving out of this match, not only are we going to have Bullet Club 3K, but we're going to have all three members join up with Tama and Jay White and the rest of them as a theme that's going to produce through the rest of this Wrestle Kingdom.
I want to ask you something. Did you...
Shoot.
I have been shouting that Rocky's the Mole for some time. Did I sway your opinion, or were we just both on the same kind of wavelength at that time?
For me, what it was... So I like the Rocky point. So I was on the... I was with Darren on the Trent side for a little while, right? But it just didn't feel right. because it never does. And you mentioned Rocky, which then got me to show, which then got me to remember that tweet that nobody seems to, it doesn't get any traction. But anyway, it is one of those things where I think Rocky is a perfect heel. I think Rocky, when he came out with Roppongi at the tour, Wrestle Kingdom tour show, it all just kind of seemed to fit. And you need, knowing that Callis is going to be there, like to see another heel announcer with Kevin Kelly when he's not around, I think just makes so much sense. So you gave me the idea, and I've convinced myself over time. I don't think he's the mole. I think Show's the mole. But I think those three together join Bullet Club 3K, or become Bullet Club 3K, because Bullet Club is fine.
We need to go on to the next match, but I think that we're going to have plenty to talk on after New Year's Dash. I think there's going to be lots of switching and changing and formations and such. So we'll address this. We're gonna put a pin in it for now as far as the mole goes, because I think we're going to have an answer really soon. But for the next match I want to get to is the Rev Pro Heavyweight title. Dan, I want to know, and mind you, Ishii may be listening, so be careful with your choice. Who do you have, Ishii or Zack Sabre Jr. to get the belt?
I just want Ishii to know that I do love him. I mean, the Stone Pitbull is just freaking amazing. I know that he's just like one of the hardest dudes out there. Zack Sabre, on the other hand, he's just cocky, he's arrogant, and I feel like, just being the younger guy, I think that they might want to give Zack actually the time with the title in this case. I think that Zack might actually pull out the victory here. Now, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit unsure on this one here, but I just feel like something's just telling me that Ishii might actually drop the title here to Sabre.
Okay. Courtney, what do you got?
Of course, I've got to go with ZSJ. As far as who would benefit more, I think ZSJ having a win in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom and holding that Rev Pro belt is going to help with New Japan expansion in the UK. So,
I like that point. Yeah.
So that's why I'm going with that. And plus, I love ZSJ. He gives me joint manipulation, catch wrestling, basically human torture. So he's my guy.
I like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I actually didn't think of it that way, but yeah, the expansion part, the expansion aspect of this is actually a very good point that Courtney brought up here about how they could potentially use this, to expand more into like the UK scene here with pro wrestling by having a belt, the British Heavyweight Championship around Sabre, instead of someone that's from Japanese blood in a sense. Not that it matters, but of course, having the representation there in a sense could be more appealing.
Now, I think that was a great point, Courtney. Thank you for bringing it up, because that expansion that we keep talking about and people keep clamoring on about and having fights about is a world expansion. It is not just the United States. Strong Style Evolved that happened in the UK was very successful. New Japan went to Australia as well to do some shows. It was very successful. So that's a great point. I do like that point. I have also chosen Zack Sabre Jr. to win. I honestly don't know what happens to Ishii after that. I'm kind of worried about it, but I do think Zack Sabre wins, and I really hope that we get the flirtation of Zack Sabre Jr. versus Suzuki down the line for that belt. So I picked Zack Sabre Jr. for this title win. So he finally gets a title inside of a New Japan ring, albeit not a New Japan title. John, who you got?
So I'm going to need everybody to do me a favor and put on your aluminum hats, because we're about to go. Okay. Yeah, tinfoil, right? Because we're about to go for a ride.
Aluminium.
Yeah, exactly. Say it correctly. All right, so here's where we're at.
Okay.
Ishii beat Zack Sabre Jr. April 6th, defending the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship. So you could make the case that this is Zack Sabre Jr.'s time to get it back because, and then they can set up a rubber match. However, let's not forget that the first champion for the British Heavyweight Championship was Minoru Suzuki. So, moving into 2019, Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, battling out for the leadership of Suzuki-gun. Where do you put that rivalry? You put that rivalry overseas, fighting Ishii for the title. Right?
Absolutely.
Ishii is coming off a tremendous G1. Ishii's coming off of a very good match against Omega. Ishii has momentum. It stalled a little bit because of how long ago that was. But I just cannot see with global expansion how you take a British title off a New Japan person or a talent when you can take that overseas and let two people who are both alphas vying for leadership of their faction do it as they compete for the title against Ishii. So I think Ishii walks away Wrestle Kingdom British Heavyweight Champion.
Okay, I like it.
And like I've even said on Twitter, I said Saber-gun. That sounds sexy as F.
I think there's a lot of money to be had if we start to see that. And it's not really a civil war. It's not really something that they don't have to go that route where everybody's they can just go with the route of who's actually the top guy in the group. I think that could be well done because you don't have to include everybody per se. It could really be just them focusing on who they need to choose as the winner. And that opens up a lot of things for people like Taichi, a lot of people in the group. So I like where you guys are going with that. I'm thinking of, as we're talking, maybe penciling in a faction episode at one point. I think that could be lots of fun. I know some people aren't really high on factions, but screw them because I think it's fun to play with. So let's move along before we get too caught up in JPQ's theories, even though they are, as Darren says, #batshit. The tag match, the heavyweight tag team titles, looked like we knew what was going on, and then we got the Young Bucks also included. The Young Bucks challenging with the World Tag League winners Sonata and Evil versus the champions Tama, Tonga, and Tongaloa. Dan, who do you have winning this contest, sir?
All right, so first off here with the World Tag Team League winners here with Sonata and Evil, I kind of wanted to go their way, especially what they did during the Road to Tokyo Dome, where they actually did the Young Bucks finisher, and then they actually did the GOD finisher, which, it's just basically just trying to send a message here. Now, the Young Bucks, let me just put it off the bat, I'm kind of just crossing this team off the board here. I think that they're just kind of coming back to potentially maybe even just kind of say a farewell in a sense, like what they did in Ring of Honor, because I think they're actually going off with the Elite, and they're actually going to be forming that other wrestling promotion. It kind of looks like it. So I think if I have to go with the little voice in my head here, I would have to say it's going to be the guerrilla warfare stuff.
Okay, now
I was actually saying to Courtney how I have like that like just like from their theme song, it's just like guerrilla tactics, time for warfare. It's just always like playing like in my head, just like randomly. It's strange.
They've got. It's not strange. They are trying to recruit, and I think they're subliminally recruiting you. Courtney, you said this morning that you woke up on the Tama side of the bed. Does that mean that you're choosing them to retain the belts? What do you got?
Yes. In one word, yes. I think that with the Bullet Club especially needing this resurgence, which it's having, with Jay White at the helm right now, we need to continue that. We need to solidify that. And why not solidify that with a win in the Tokyo Dome over two of your worst enemies in LIJ and the Bucks now? Because we know Tama hates the Elite. If you ain't Bullet Club, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've got to go with the OGs.
Okay.
Gotta go.
Now, here's what I had this morning. I wrote down God retaining, but before we went on air, I said, you know what? I'm going to switch it. I went with my gut here. I think that Sonata Evil are going to take the titles. I personally think that a Taichi and maybe Suzuki or Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., if they don't go down the route of Suzuki versus Sabre, I think that we could see a kind of Taichi being blended into a tag team again, challenging down the line. But I see Sonata and Evil taking the belts. I think this is going to hold over for a couple of months with God. I think we'll see another rematch between the two. I'm not super excited for this match, and I think it a little bit because the Young Bucks are part of it, and I'm kind of over them, as are a lot of folks, kind of over the whole Elite group. But you know, they've earned their spots. Maybe not this year, but over the course of their career in New Japan, they do deserve a send-off, whether you like them or not. So I've got Sonata and Evil winning the titles. A gut instinct last-second decision. John, do you have a tinfoil conspiracy to this, or are the champs retaining?
No, I don't have any type of conspiracy for this one. I think with the momentum that God has coming into this, it's so hard for me to pick against Sonata and Evil just because I'm an LIJ fan. But with the wave of momentum, with everything that's been going on, to really put a exclamation on this year, it's got to be God.
I would be fine with them, you know, retaining for a long time. I'm actually okay with that, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm not really upset either way it goes. Now, if it's a twist and Young Bucks win and they lose the next night, I think that would be not the wisest move, personally. But remember, New Year's Dash is the next morning. We always see something a little fucky going on. Things change, so we don't know. Things could happen. But on the contest that me and Dan are doing, we have an overwhelming result so far in our next match. And nearly 100% of everybody who's taken part in the contest pick'em has decided one way on this, and that's the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship match between Cody Rhodes and Juice Robinson. Dan, personally, are we going to see Juice as the new US champion, the first two-time champ, or is Cody retaining and taking that belt all over the world?
Honestly, I think it's just has something to do here. Honestly, I think like Juice has the potential to also take it over the world as well. But I think like with Cody, it also kind of goes back to the whole Elite thing. And I think that this might actually be Cody's time to actually drop the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship to Juice and then give him a run with the title, because I think Cody is possibly just packing it up to possibly go on to greater things right now. I think like in the terms of also the expansion here, I don't really think that, you know, if Cody did retain in a sense here, I don't think that's going to affect it either way. I do think that with Cody's future intentions, I think that having the title with Juice would probably be the better choice, because he is still more wrapped up into doing his, you know, thing. He's still not completely over yet. And I think that doing this here would potentially get him to, more popularity with the, you know, with the crowds and stuff, and possibly put him more on the map, and to speak, you know, in a sense.
Courtney, what do you think?
This is another one of those cases where I've just got to look at the match strictly from a booking standpoint of who stands to gain more and who needs it more. And after Juice's G1 that he had this year that was so disappointing for him with that injury he had and everything, you know, he is owed some redemption. And, you know, what better way than to win that belt at Wrestle Kingdom, have his moment in the sun, and, you know, be solidified by Cody Rhodes. You know, it's a chance for both Cody to get kind of that farewell if he's going to be going off with the Bucks and starting AEW, as the raging inferno of clues seems to lead you to believe.
Yeah.
You know, just give it to Juice, Gato. Come on.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you, Courtney. I think it's kind of, it's almost too logical to make this move that it worries me, because I'm a jaded fan who used to watch WWE, so I kind of know that when you fully expect something, expect the opposite. But this is where I hashtag trust in Gato, because there's only one decision that I think is going to be made, and Juice is going to get that title. And like Courtney says, is going to have a really fun run with it, unhindered. So JPQ, do we have this all wrong, or are you on board with the Juice winning the belts?
It's so hard to pick Juice. It's a tough one for me. So Cody's made mention in the past that he'd like to do the G1. You could sit here and you could make a case, the way I usually do, on how he keeps the U.S. Heavyweight Championship and how he utilizes it in AEW to help bring reverence to a title that they've failed the back 3/4 of this year. Not a Juice fan. Don't think Juice is the guy to get him to build that reverence. But I think Juice goes over here. I think it's the writing's on the wall. Cody's out. Juice is in. and we move forward and we try to build something out of a belt that is being wasted in the industry right now.
And this is proof, guys, if you're listening to this, if you're watching or listening, JPQ is definitely a McMahon. He's jealous that Juice has left NXT.
CJ was my talent.
He's still envious. And he wants to pick Cody, but he's also upset that Cody's leaving and not coming to Orlando. So, JPQ, John, thank you for at least making a decision here. I know it's hard for you as a McMahon. But the next match is a little easier, I think, because you don't have any emotional ties, I think. The Junior Heavyweight Championship. And Dan, I know you're kind of new to New Japan, so I want to know what you think about Kushida and Taiji Ishimori. A lot of people on my poll has chosen Taiji to win the title. I think the opposite. But Dan, what do you think about the junior division in New Japan? Are you enjoying it? And who do you see winning this match?
Pretty much like what I see the junior division as is like sort of along the lines as a more expanded cruiserweight division in a sense. I would definitely say that I enjoy the junior division a lot. With Taiji and Kushida, I've seen them go head to head in a lot of tag team matches, and whenever they do, they just really like want to beat the crap out of each other. It's like when you have like two dogs and like, or like you have like, well, in most cases here it's like the big dog and the little dog, and like they're both like barking at each other. That's basically what it kind of seems like. Just like these two guys just like want to kill each other a lot. But I would have to probably go with Taiji, and the reason why is because I think with the Bullet Club just being resurrected, I think that they're going to use this as an opportunity to re-solidify their strength. So I think that you're going to see some titles go around the members of the new Bullet Club.
Okay, Courtney, what do you got?
Okay, Kushi made this impossible for me, posting all those pictures with those freaking otters that are so freaking adorable.
Yes, they were.
I'm still dying of the cuteness. However, that cuteness is not going to save you, Kushi.
Oh.
Because I've got to go with Taiji Ishimori, Bone Soldier, chosen by Tama Tonga himself to come in. You know, all of these storyline arcs with the Bullet Club especially are running parallel. And, you know, with the next match that we're about to discuss especially, you know, like you said, like this could be the banner year for Bullet Club to be able to tell people like what culture, you know what? Fuck them. We're not dead. We're still kicking.
Yeah.
At this point, Bullet Club to me, like you're gonna legitimately have to shoot it in the head to kill it. Like it's like a zombie at this point.
It really
like,
has completely been resurrected. It's something that I was thinking earlier last year or earlier this year. I thought they need to kill it off. Let's just move past it. And my gosh, everybody has been, at least myself, I've been proven wrong that Bullet Club was dead, because it is very zombie-like. It's been completely revived. But I'm gonna have to go against you guys. I do not think Taiji Ishimori is gonna win the belts. I just don't feel it in my guts. What I will predict is Kushida hanging on to the belts. I think he's gonna bring that belt over to the New Beginning in LA and Charlotte and have some matches there. And this is where I personally think that maybe before the match or after, Hiromu makes a little appearance and just says hi to everybody. I don't think he's going to run the ropes or anything, but it's going to be very Shibata-like when Shibata came into the ring after his injury, a total shock to everyone, and said he's okay, and then left. That's what I'm really hoping for. I think Hiromu makes an appearance maybe just before the match starts. Remember, before the final 4 matches, or 3 or 4 matches, that's usually when we get the video package for the year events. We're going to get all the events, the dates, and we get a lot of information. So maybe just before the video package, we see Hiromu just say hi. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. JPQ.
If that happens, y'all, I will be a mess for a week.
I think a lot of the wrestling community will be a mess for a good period of time, Courtney.
You're gonna see Twitter just blow up. It's just gonna be like a nuclear bomb.
It's gonna be like a nuclear time bomb. Boom, boom.
Especially if he brings out Daryl with him. I miss that little kitty.
We have yet to hear JPQ's thoughts. John, what's happening to the junior title in less than a week from now?
Yeah, it's exciting. So to kind of keep the theme of Bullet Club here, I think Taiji does win. I think Ishimori, who personally hits the ropes the hardest out of anybody in New Japan right now, I think Kushida is the perfect person to give him the title. 1, there's a legacy there with Kushida. 2, he can afford the loss, right?
Yeah,
like
I agree
it would be, it'd be harder if it was Hiramu. It would be harder if it was Ospreay. But because it's Kushida, and Kushida is a stalwart for New Japan, I think he can afford to take the loss and it not hurt him. Although that's twice in a year, I believe. I think he lost it last year. Yeah, to Ospreay. But I do think Taiji walks away with it. Now, to your point about Hiramu, I agree with you. I think this is the perfect time. I have it a little bit differently. I kind of threw it out on your timeline yesterday. Taiji wins the match. BC's theme is going. They're talking up Taiji. And then all of a sudden, lights go out. Lights come on. And in the corner of the ring just sits Daryl. We don't see Hiramu, but we just see Daryl. And
Chills.
Right.
Chills, yeah.
Exactly. And then what you're setting up there is you're setting up LIJ versus BC in the new year. So I think there's a couple parallels you can play there if you throw Daryl out there and you don't necessarily see Hiramu.
I think that's a good point, because that way you don't have to worry about Hiromu coming into the ring and getting people expecting that he's gonna, be ready to fight soon. So that's a good point you make. I think he's going to make an appearance, but, regardless.
I hope he does. I would love to see. And again, you could match those two.
Yeah.
after the Super J Cup, the rematch never took the title from me. I mean, you can do that, but I think a little bit of theater goes a long.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since it's not really used a lot in New Japan. So something like, videos or vignettes of Hiromu saying, I'm getting ready, I'm going to come for my title. That's a really good. I like your timeline there. I like that alternate. I like that reality that you're putting down. That would be very fun. Now we're gonna get into the next one, and it's a very special grudge match. Kazuchika Okada, after a tremendous first half of 2018. One of the best title runs we've ever seen, that I've ever seen. And then an immediate downfall. And that's really a big part due to Switchblade Jay White. And they're going to finally meet in a special grudge match. It's going to be a super interesting match. Dan, we're going to start here. We already know Courtney's pick. We'll get to you next. But Dan, what do you think is going to happen in this special grudge match?
So I think I've told Courtney about this a couple of times, but I'm actually a pretty big Kazuchika Okada fan as well as also a Jay White fan. So kind of seeing this here is going to be hard to pick because I kind of would like to see Okada at least maybe not get back to where he was at one point during his title reign, but at least have a bit of a step to at least redeem himself a bit. Possibly pick up a victory over Jay White. But I think in the end, because of Jay White just beating down Okada and just taking every single advantage that he can to just continuously, just do stuff to him and just continuously be able to get the upper hand over him. Mm-hmm. I think that Jay White's probably going to be the likely one here to pull off a victory, especially because I think that's very possible that soon Jay White might actually be getting a title shot. I think that he's possibly going to go for maybe the Intercontinental Championship, the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, or possibly maybe even the British Heavyweight Championship or something like along those lines. But I think that most likely, he's probably going to come out on top of Okada in this one.
Courtney, I think everybody who knows you knows what you're going to say next, but I still want to hear it from your mouth. Tell us how it plays out, though. How does Switchblade defeat Okada? Is it easy? Is it a hard-fought, close win? How does he do it?
Okay, the way that I booked this is you've got to do this at least 80% in the ring, straightforward, having a match with Okada, and then 20% shithead Jay White signature tactics. You've got to kind of solidify him as a little bit more than just the shithead heel who can get even the quiet, respectable Japanese fans to near riot status. We've got to, we've got to solidify him as more than that. And this storyline with Jay White has been going on for a lot longer than people realize. Mm-hmm. It was Prince Devitt who handed him a New Japan Pro Wrestling business card. So Jay White is essentially Prince Devitt's progeny. And this is his moment to come in as Tama has said on social media, the real rock and roller 2.0. Come in, defeat the Rainmaker, and then move on to win either the IC title, or even if, like, my pick for later on is Omega, try to go after Omega and the IWGP heavyweight title. Because his rise this year, I've watched his entire year over the past couple of weeks, and you really see that he is comfortable in what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and not only that, here recently you can tell as far as the way that his body looks. He is in the gym. He is working out. He is getting ready for this. So, that's why I really think it's going to be him.
And don't hate me for this, Courtney. But I have gone with Okada. I think this is this is the easiest pick for me to make on this card, is Okada winning, because I think Okada is going to win. It's going to be his first win on his road back to the top. He's going to start making that rain fall again. He's going to find his way back throughout the course of the year, as will Naito. And I think, as I've said before, Okada and Naito have a special parallel redemption run to be making in the new year. I believe Okada wins. This will actually not hinder Jay, personally. I feel that this is actually going to make him even more sinister. And this is when he starts to think, I need to play my trump card. And I believe that the Mole, whoever that may be, will be making an appearance either after the match or at New Year's Dash the next morning or the next night. So I think this makes Jay even stronger. Okada wins. John, what do you say?
Yeah, I could go into a crazy WWE style flip here, pal, with Gato and going back to Okada and all that type of stuff. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to be a classic Okada match. Okada at Wrestle Kingdom is the best show that money can buy, and I think Jay's going to do his part. I think that Dan was right with Jay having an IC title run in him. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you have Okada, you have Tanahashi, you possibly have Omega, and you've got Naito all in the picture. And to insert a fifth just makes that main event. Just because you're the leader of a faction does not mean that you're guaranteed a main event spot with regards to the heavyweight championship. And because of that, I think you see Okada win. At Wrestle Kingdom, he's lost enough the back third of the year. It's time for him to get his redemption and then build the story to Naito Okada Wrestle Kingdom 2020.
It's going to be so interesting to see how this plays out.
I know.
I'm super intrigued in seeing this because I'm not sure if you noticed, but on the road to Tokyo Dome, in a backstage comment, Tanahashi said to the interviewer, he said, Okada, hurry up and beat Jay White, because if you can't, I will. And I'm really fascinated to see how this triangle kind of keeps going into 2019. But we need to press on to the next match.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Absolutely.
So do you think Okada should ditch the balloons?
Never.
He never should have had the balloons.
I had to open up that can of worms.
And I hate the balloons. No, I get it. It's all part of the story. He's hitting his rock bottom. Pun intended. I totally am okay with how far he's fallen, but I'm just not a fan of balloons. Courtney, what do you think?
I want the shorts back.
Yes.
I want Rainmaker freaking Okada. I don't want this little. He's turned into like a little lost kid who who is just lost in the grocery store and has no idea what he's doing. I mean,
it sounds like a lineup for like an undead gimmick, like some creepy gimmick that he's going to take on.
No, I agree with you, Courtney. I really do miss the short boys 100%. I miss the more gold in his attire. He has way too much red going on.
Get rid of the red hair.
We could speculate, as I think there's a lot to say about the color red over the past 6 months. Jay White, we've got uppercuts, very like Shinsuke. Of course, Chaos member. I just want to start that speculation because I think it's something to look into. But we need to press on to the Intercontinental title match, because whether you fall on the side that Jericho's a part-timer and he's not there enough and he doesn't get the belt, I don't know why he has the belt, or if you fall on the side that he's a big draw and he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, or if you're a Naito stan, which there's plenty of, that's cool, whatever, blah, blah, blah. this is a huge match, whether you admit it or not, or realize it is. This is gonna co-main event the Wrestle Kingdom 13 in less than a week's time. It's brought a lot of very strong opinions out of people, but the fact of the matter is Chris Jericho is the Intercontinental Champion. Tetsuya Naito is challenging for that belt. It's going to be a brawl. And overwhelmingly, we had more votes on this match on the poll by about 200 more than any other poll that I put out this week. So people are very adamant about this. Dan, you have a more fresh perspective on New Japan. I know you haven't been watching like full time until a little more recently. What do you see happening in the Intercontinental title match?
So with Jericho being like the new big heel in New Japan, I think that they're probably going to try to play him up a bit more. And like, yeah, he's a part-timer and everything in New Japan, but I feel like in a sense that they kind of do like having him as a heel. And I think that just he's able to work over the crowd. He's able to get them pissed off pretty well, and he kind of has like this whole like mentality that he's just too good for New Japan. Now with Naito here, and the fact that like Jericho has blindsided Naito quite a few times leading up to this match, I think that Naito, he's going to put on a pretty good fight here against Jericho. I think that's going to be pretty close, but I think that Jericho is just going to use some sort of underhanded tactic in order to pick up the victory.
It's going to be a brawl, man. They're going to go at it. Jericho's brought this completely NC-17 hardcore 70s NWA style wrestling to New Japan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, super fun. He's brought a lot of people into New Japan, and I want to make that point because there's a lot of fans who say, "Oh, Jericho's doing that," and you have to give him credit for bringing in so many eyes on the product because. One, it's helping the wrestling community. It's helping bring people in like my friend Jen, my friend Amy. You're bringing in people who are now going to be, fully part of this community in 2019, even more. Jericho's doing a lot of good, whether you like it or not. And I think it's just something you have to deal with. Courtney... shut me up for a second. I'm sorry. Who do you have winning this match?
I've got Mr. Tranquilo himself, Naito, winning this because, I see both sides of the Jericho argument. I can totally see from both sides. He needs to be there more. I can see that. I can see the side of the argument that, yeah, he's a good draw and he brings in more eyes to New Japan. But now it's time for him to be more of just an attraction than a champion there and come in and have feuds with maybe what I want to see happen next is actually Okada. I want Crazy Jericho versus Crazy Okada.
That's an interesting idea.
Just to see how the chips fall.
I do like that. I think I saw
in all honesty
tweet about that, and it got me to thinking that while it goes against what I think is going to happen, I would love to see Okada have to face somebody like Jericho on his way back to the top. I think that would be fantastic, and what better time than now when you've got both of them under the same roof. I have gone, and I've been, at first, when the card came out, I was definitely saying Naito's going to win, easy, hands down. But as the time's gone on, I have changed my opinion. I think that Jericho will retain. I think Twitter is going to freak out about this. Jericho's going to win. I think he'll have maybe one defense, maybe an Okada, who knows, at one of the New Beginning shows in February. And then he has, I believe, will lose the Intercontinental title at MSG. I think it's an appropriate place to have Chris Jericho in your brand, because no matter if he's fighting on American soil for All In, for the Elite, for anywhere, New Japan, you don't think that after a little bit of time, Vince McMahon would say, yes, please come back, we love you. I think that the speculation about, oh, he doesn't fight for anybody else on American, I don't think that that's really valid. I personally think that Jericho will win next week, and he'll keep that title until MSG when he eventually loses. That's where I'm going with this. I think Naito hasn't hit his rock bottom yet. And you have to hit the bottom of the barrel before you can make your bounce back. That is how New Japan works. You have to hit the bottom of the barrel first. And I think that's going to happen. Naito will eventually get some key victories in the New Japan Cup. He's going to make his way back. And I fully am behind Naito winning the G1 and being that first person to win as the briefcase holder at Wrestle Kingdom in 2020. John, am I speaking absolute rubbish? What's the answer?
So, I love this story. I love Naito being Mr. Japanese Wrestling, and everything he does is for Japanese wrestling. And then you have the anti-Japanese wrestling in Jericho. And as much as people give Jericho flack for not being there and the IC title being put on ice, again, they did it to showcase the U.S. title. And now they did a garbage job with it, in my opinion, not just because of Juice, but because of how they booked him through the G1 and the fact that nobody's defended it since May, or successfully defended it since May. But I think we're in the middle of a reset. I think that with what 2018 was in New Japan, with the Young Bucks and with Omega and the Golden Lovers and Cody coming in, and I think they try to get back to some semblance of self. And I don't think there's a better person to do that than Naito. So you're going to have, coming out of this match, now we'll get to the next one, but coming out of this match, you have Okada redeeming himself through a back half of an arduous back half of 2018. You have BC establishing themselves as the heel faction, the number one heel faction in New Japan, like it should be. And then you have Naito taking back the title from somebody who's anti New Japan storyline wise. So I think that we're going to go into a reset, into new beginnings. And I think this just adds to the story by Naito winning.
Now, I put the question out there, and I wondered if Naito wins, where would he lose that belt over the course of the year? And two, would he hold that title and then challenge for the heavyweight title? I mean, what happens? Just a far-fetched prediction. What would you say?
You know better than I do because it's your Twitter. But there was a guy, I want to say it was a guy, I think it was a guy, on Twitter who threw out an example to you, and I'll let you discuss it.
He said, why not hold the title
genius
and challenge? Yeah, I think that's smart. It's very unlike New Japan to do, but I think New Japan are willing to do some new stuff to bring in new fans, or else they wouldn't have brought Jericho over. So yeah, it's totally feasible. But I wouldn't put money on it. But hey, if I saw it, I would have lots of fun with it. I would not be disappointed at all with him holding the title and then challenging for the heavyweight title at the same time.
Well, not the double where he gives it back, right?
Oh, that one. Yes, that was genius. Yeah. That was this morning.
That was so smart.
So yeah, on Twitter, just this morning, he says Naito wins the belt, throws it away basically, and said he just did this to get rid of Jericho and he doesn't want the belt. Obviously everybody wins in that scenario. Genius idea. And 100% behind that idea. So check out at NJPWUS. There's a couple of good threads on these predictions that you could read through. But we need to get to the most important. This is it, guys. This is not only a signal to what happens in 2019. This could create a seismic shift in the landscape of pro wrestling. And after a lot of thought, I've changed my pick as well in the last day or so, and it's been very tough. Put out Twitter polls, I've put out questions, so who wins, and this has easily been the tightest decision for people to make, and that's fascinating to me. And that's the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, which Kenny Omega has, and he will be defending against G1 Climax winner Hiroshi Tanahashi. Let's just get right to it. Dan, who is winning the belts at the Tokyo Dome January 4th?
So the thing here with Omega being champion is that he could literally just do underhanded things and still people will always love the guy. As you saw like in the Road to Tokyo Dome with his tag team match with with Ibushi as the Golden Lovers, taking on Tanahashi as well as also Ospreay. Omega was doing some underhanded stuff, but it just didn't really seem to matter so much. So he's definitely like always going to be like almost like the face of the company, a really big name, and people always in Japan going to love the guy. A lot of people are just going to always love the guy no matter what. I think that honestly, I was going to go with Omega originally, but I honestly think that Tanahashi might be the one here to actually dethrone the king in a sense and take the title home. But I think like in return here, normally I was going with a lot of the Bullet Club members here. Sorry, not the Bullet Club, with a lot of the Elite members here to actually lose the titles or lose their matches because I felt like they were going somewhere with the Young Bucks as well as Cody. I don't think Omega is going anywhere if he loses. I think he's still going to be in Japan. I think he's still going to be in New Japan, regardless of all elite wrestling going on, whatever they're going to be doing. I think that with Omega, I think he's still going to be there, but potentially I think something that might happen, potentially you might actually see him do a bigger heel turn in a sense. Potentially maybe even going like a full-blown like real heel in a sense. That's what I was potentially seeing happen here.
Courtney, who's winning the heavyweight title match main event at Tokyo Dome next Friday?
Kenneth Omega is not going anywhere. He has basically put down roots in Japan. I don't think he's leaving. I think that All Elite Wrestling will be mainly from a business standpoint run by the Bucks and Cody, and maybe Kenny will come in and do appearances for them every now and again, but I don't see him leaving New Japan anytime soon. And I think Amy and Jen would appreciate this, but his hair and his selfie with his dog from Christmas, you could see the gray. That means that we're getting the cleaner.
I think
next
a
Friday.
lot of people would be happy to see the Omega that we all fell in love with. So you're saying Omega is going to win the title. He's going to retain the title at the Wrestle Kingdom?
Yes, and I think it's going to be a way for maybe this ideology fight that they're having, him and Tana. Maybe this will be a way for Tana to maybe come around and say, well, maybe you were right about some things. Like, yeah, we still disagree, but hey, I got to give you credit. You did go out there and you won, because Tana would be honorable like that, you would think, character-wise. So I think it's going to be like a moment to solidify him. I think this is a night that New Japan needs to solidify a lot of their talent, especially if they're expecting, like Hangman and Cody and the Bucks to all leave in this big block. They need to, solidify a lot of talent and make sure that they have parts in place to be ready to go New Year's Dash next night. And like, I as much as Tana winning would be amazing, the dude is dealing with two busted knees, dealing with, the bicep that he always has to keep taped up.
He is definitely hurting, yeah. Absolutely.
You know, like why put a title on a guy like that when you have somebody that is healthy and ready and can go every night, you know?
I'm able to make an argument either way. I think that regardless of what direction they're going with, I think there's an argument to be made for both sides. And remember, this is wrestling, guys. If the guy you want to win doesn't win, it's not the end of the world. There's always plans for the company, and if you don't like the company, you can go watch other companies. There are things for everybody. I still, at this very second, could very well go either way, but I'm going to stick with my prediction of Kenny Omega retaining. I don't think this is the year that the G1 Climax winner takes the belt at the Dome. I don't think that spot is for Tanahashi. I think that's for next year. I think that's for Naito next year. I think Naito's going to take it off of Okada next year. And I think Kenny Omega is winning Friday. He's going to have his little curtain call. People are going to come around. They're going to say goodbye to some of their friends. And Omega's going to keep the belt. And I have a long shot theory, tinfoil theory, that Omega drops it at MSG on American soil appropriately. And then Omega, ventures off to this new brand at that time. And I don't see Kenny sticking around all year. I know I'm in the minority. I don't care. But I think Omega's going to win it, hold it till April, and then he's going to lose the belts. That's what I'm sticking to. John, make some sense for us. Tell us what's happening, please.
Well, I think it's appropriate that we talked about the cleaner, because we're going to have a clean sweep here soon enough. Ooh. As much as I'd like to keep the narrative of the reset there, and there's no better way of doing it than giving Tanahashi the belt, give him the title, and then boom, now you have your reset. Ace on top, Okada building himself back up, Naito's right there, BC Club, yada yada. I think that Kenny is the face of New Japan, and he has been for a couple years now. Now Okada's there, obviously, but I think really the groundswell of interest in New Japan has really come from Kenny Omega, and I don't think that can be discounted. Yeah. So the reset theory still holds firm, especially with him not having anybody but Ibushi. Speaking of, we haven't finished that story yet, right? In my opinion, when it comes to the relationship between Omega and Ibushi, we are 80% through the story. So take it back 10 years and say that they had their young love start, right? Two up-and-comers coming together. Then they had their first breakup that led to overseas dating, right? Then they come back together, but there's still that awkward period before they get back together. Finally, they get married, right? And that's what 2018 has been. And they're kind of in this honeymoon phase of everything's peachy keen, hunky-dory. It's your first year of marriage, right?
Yeah.
Then you realize that they slurp their soup when they're eating. Right, and there's a little bit of dissension in the ranks, and I don't think we're there yet. Yeah, and I think that story needs to be explored further. And I think that overpowers, or that sways me towards Kenny Omega sticking around, because I think we need to finish that story. And once we do, then we see Omega move on. Now I think it'll be through 2020. I don't think he leaves until after the.
That's the consensus.
The following year. Yeah. But I don't disagree with you. I think that's a smart way of looking at it too. Give him a 6-month extension and then let him out to pasture. But there's more to this, and with no factions behind Kenny, no factions behind Ibushi, the logical step would be that the breakup begins to happen, the divorce begins to happen. So I think that's where we're headed. I think Kenny retains for that reason. Tanahashi's fine. He can take the loss. Him just getting back to the main event against somebody who's not Okada has put him back in the position, especially where he was coming from at the end of at the beginning of last year. I think it's Kenny in a clean sweep.
Guys, wild stuff. I really like the ideas that you guys have said. I really appreciate the time that you've spent with me this afternoon, just a couple days before the new year. And we're going to sign off here. I want to thank you guys, Dan, Courtney, and John. Thank you a million. Thanks, guys, in the chats. Please follow these folks on Twitter. I will send out a link shortly, so if you're not already following, please do. We will sign it off here. I hope you guys have a wonderful new year, and we will all be online watching and tweeting our hearts away vicariously, viciously. John will have better words for me. But we will be doing that late in the evening, early in the morning, Wrestle Kingdom 13. So please give us a follow on Twitter. Follow at Wilfred Watches. We'll have audio of this up on the feed on Social Suplex soon. Watch the replay, share it around, get the word around. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/WilfredWatches. Lots of really cool stuff coming up. And thanks, guys, for joining today. And we are going to sign out. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.